I do get slight elbow tendonitis.
Yeah.
And that really screws up my kind of pull-ups and bench and things like that sometimes, which is just frustrating. How do you manage your, like personally, your grappling and your training? Because you're training a lot. I'm not sure how much you do jiu-jitsu, but you do mention that you do it quite frequently. How do you manage it yourself, if you get any of that?
Yeah. So say I have at least 3 recommendations. One is train with weights in the day before you do jiu-jitsu. If you do jiu-jitsu first and train with weights sometime after, and that same day, you're just non-starter. Your elbows are going to be like, bro, nah.
Yeah, I have to do that. Like, I have to double up, so I do it before. I have done it after when I'm desperate, just to get in some training. But man,
Bro,
even
terrible,
bodyweight
right?
pull-ups, you're like, man,
Dude, you're like, I can't do pull-ups anymore. That's it. And jiu-jitsu finally broke me. That's it.
like I just found myself just circling around machines because it was easier.
Yes.
So I was just like, I'm chest pressing, shoulder pressing, lat pull down, seated row. I'm out.
Yeah, 100%. So definitely lift before. Another recommendation I have is to drill, maybe not necessarily drill, but some combination of drilling and positional sparring more than you do live sparring. Because live work, just going to submission, is very, very effective and very necessary. But especially for folks that are beginning, folks that are working out their game plan, they need lots of repetitions of the same thing. So lots of drilling and lots of positional sparring. The thing is, most people don't like those as much as they do live rolling. I mean, the ideal white belt jiu-jitsu class is that coach just like blows a whistle and is like, all right, 40 minutes, just try to kill yourselves and hit it. And, everyone loves that, but you don't really learn a whole lot. And this is so difficult for the body. It's full-on combat. It's going to beat you up more. So you can get a better stimulus to fatigue ratio from jiu-jitsu training if you do more drilling and more positionals. My wife and I train together right now at in jiu-jitsu, and we train basically 3 times a week most weeks, and we only spar once a week for now, but our jiu-jitsu game is just continuously elevating because we drill the other days. And drillers make killers, like that's the thing wrestling came up with, and it's just as true for jiu-jitsu. So that's a really good idea. And the other thing is, I would say, when you're rolling, and this is difficult to do when you're a white belt, but it'll get easier to do as you mature, if you try, is to treat your rolls as opportunities to exhibit technical prowess and cap your use of your strength until you're at a competition. And then in a couple of weeks leading up to the competition, really ease up on your lifting, start to crank your intensity and training a little bit higher for jiu-jitsu and try harder. And then you'll be ready to try hard, but all of the movement patterns will have been there from trying not so hard physically. So here's what I mean by that. If you're, let's say, doing some kind of pass in the gi, do you do gi or no gi?
I prefer no gi, but
No gi, sweet.
I do the occasional gi. It's kind of become a joke now that I'll just kind of show up to gi, but yeah, I just prefer no gi.
Collar choked by somebody.
Yeah, like coming from rugby and just the more dynamic elements of it, I prefer it. But I do both.
You just want men that are shirtless.
Exactly.
Coming from rugby, you're like, this gi covers up too much of the man that I want to touch. This is gross. So let's say in no gi, you're kind of pushing a pass together, and the person's resisting, and they're kind of following up and trying to hook your legs and keep their guard. And you could get the pass if you simply like pulled harder on their shoulder, just because you're fucking jacked and strong, and you can get the pass doing that. But if you don't do that, they're actually too technical for you because they're weaker and smaller, but maybe they're a blue or purple belt, and they're too technical for you to get the pass just on like smooth technique. There are 2 ways to get around that. One is you just fucking grind them and you get the pass. 2 is you give up the pass and try to work for something else that you are technically proficient in advancing on. One of those lets you win the match and advance the position, which is cool. Congratulations. So pat on your own back. But also it fucks up your elbows because it just grinds on them, man. Like grinding is what hurts you, not jiu-jitsu. Not a lot of people get hurt doing breakdancing, but it looks even more intense than jiu-jitsu, except there's nobody resisting you in breakdancing. It's just you by yourself. So very low injury rate. Those people don't really complain about any kind of joint pain or anything, generally. Sure shit, not elbow pain. But jiu-jitsu, man, you're pushing people away, you're pulling people, you're using one arm to grab something and move around it. And when you're in the fight or flight situation, like you can grind your out joints real hard doing that stuff. But if you say to yourself, look, if I can't get this with good fluid technique at 50% of my maximum strength, I don't deserve to get it because I don't really know things. Jiu-Jitsu isn't about how strong your body is. It's about how much you know of how to move your body. Anytime you want, you can take your strength and start using it, and then you're a fucking killer. Imagine if, like, some girl in your class who weighs, like, 55 kilos or something, and she's tall and lanky, and you're like, but she's like a black belt, and she's just a star technician. You can beat her right now just because you could just smash the living fuck out of her. Fine, amazing. But imagine if she took a magic pill, that her jiu-jitsu technique didn't change at all, but now she got your strength. Oh my God, dude, she'd go to Worlds and fuck everyone up. Like, that's it. It would be game over, because she's worked on the most important part of jiu-jitsu, which is the technical ability. You are that girl, except your technical ability sucks and you have the muscles already. You're that girl in reverse. Cool thing is if you train to increase your technical ability, your strength's always going to be there. So for the last little while in my training, I'm working on flow and technical and getting to the right places, because when I have to turn up the strength, it's always there.
Yeah.
But if I always turn up the strength, both fuck up my elbows and shoulders, and I don't learn a ton of technique, because someone's like, you got that pass, and you're like, I sure did. They're like, that's the wrong way to do the pass. You're like, but it worked. Like, no shit. If you have a bulldozer run over a car, it's the wrong way to pass on the freeway, but it still works because it's just fucking that big. You don't learn anything. Like if you have a tank and you just drive it across the racetrack and crush all the other race cars and you win the race, you don't actually know how to race. You just drive in a straight line, and other cars just blow up when they touch you. Like, you don't learn anything. So with jiu-jitsu, backing off if you're stronger, into such a way that you never hurt your joints, that you just think your elbows after practice, they feel great. Which means, like, look, if you're up against a stronger guy, a bigger guy, and he muscles you, you got to lose. You got to lose the position. You got to lose the match. You got to tap more often. But, when people get a big ego about beating you, that's all in the gym. It's all good. Because when you're peaking for competition, you're going to turn it up on that same person, and they're going to fucking lose to you. And they're going to be like, holy shit, you got a lot better. Be like, nah, man, I just never really try all that hard with my strength. And that seems like a cocky thing to say, but, like, you just beat them. So clearly you had some other shit up your sleeve. You know what I mean? So my best recommendation there is, like, train before you do jiu-jitsu, drill more, do more positionals, less live rolling, and when you roll live, don't try to crank on people and use white belt energy. Just try to be technical and smooth, so that you'll never get in a position where you're even really taxing your joints a whole lot.
Yeah, I've definitely been trying to work on that. I heard of the idea maybe like 6 months ago when I was, or maybe a year, around positional sparring, starting in disadvantageous positions and then kind of working your way out. That's and now that's actually been one of my favorite ways to train. I guess I've kind of looked at it similar to training, lifting weights.
Yeah.
It's about technique. And
well, imagine if you use that opposite philosophy with weight training. Someone's like seeing you do a tricep push down with 100 pounds, and they're like, can't you lift more? We're like, yes, I can put 600 pounds on the rack deadlift and pick that up for 10, but, like, that's just me using my whole body like an idiot. I'm not targeting what I want. Technique in jiu-jitsu is the same thing. Can you pick someone up and smash them in jiu-jitsu? Sure, totally. Unless they're really big and strong. And then if they know more technique than you have zero weapons. You don't actually know anything. But if you focus on your technique, it doesn't look as impressive. But once your technique gets really groovy, if you're strong and you have good technique, dude, it's lights out. You ever roll against people who are strong, big, and had good technique? Like, it's not a fun time for anyone, because you truly feel trapped. Like, you're like, oh my God, I have nothing. I have nothing to go to. I can turn up my strength. They're nullifying that. And their technique makes it seem like they're just not even fucking trying. So that's where you want to be. And as big and strong as you are, give it another 7 or 8 years, you're going to have a black belt, and you're going to be that big and strong, if not bigger and stronger. And then you'll be a real pain in the ass if you learn the techniques from now until then. But if you just get promoted by beating people up and having just a couple of good moves and you just smash people through, you're never really going to be that good. Other black belts will beat you up, and you'll be confused as to why.